What? It's my least favorite day of the year, aka April Fool's Day. I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I don't like this day. I don't like the idea that for one day out of the year, we can lie to people and it's haha funny. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm also someone who's probably a bit gullible to a lot of it, and it just frustrates me. So we're gonna do a reverse April Fool's Day video today, and we're gonna look up some of the most popular Demon Slayer fun facts on Instagram, and we're going to discover the truth of all of these together and declare it actual fact, headcanon, or needs to do more research. Now, I do have these two books with me right here to help me with some of the things that I might not know off the top of my head, because after all, I am a regular human being that doesn't know everything about Demon Slayer. I know that might come as a shock, but for the sake of this video, we're gonna have these here for research and that sort of thing. And this is just for education purposes only. Just so y'all know, I love fun and whimsical fandom-related activities like having headcanons. All I'm gonna say is if you have a headcanon, label it as a headcanon and not a fun fact. That's all I'm gonna say. I literally started my entire TikTok journey talking about Avatar: Last Airbender headcanons. So I am well aware that headcanons are fun. I start to get a little iffy on the idea of headcanons when it just is completely opposite to actual canon. But at the same time, if you're just like, this is a headcanon of mine, I don't really care. It's when you start saying it's a fun fact, when it's a headcanon, that I have an issue. But this video is all in good fun. I'm not trying to come after any of these creators. I am just merely going to point out when things are real and when things are not, and help you all with the understanding that whenever you see these fun facts, just do a little bit of research, please. But we're gonna dive right in, but before we do, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. And also just putting a quick disclaimer out there, I believe a lot of these fun facts that we're gonna see do have manga spoilers in them, so if you have not read the manga, put a pin in this video and wait until you've either read the manga or watched the movies. I highly suggest just reading the manga. It's very, very good. This video it's gonna have spoilers in it, so there's your warning. But with that, let's get into it. Okay, so I'm testing out some new things. So I'm actually gonna be looking at these on my phone and screen recording this way. Usually I use my computer for this, but I'm trying new things. So we'll see if this works out the way I am hoping. Okay, so I literally just went on Instagram and searched Demon Slayer fun facts. So these should all be presented like Demon Slayer facts you probably didn't know. So let's look at this very first one, which I think, yeah, this has 22,000 likes. So pretty popular Demon Slayer facts you probably didn't know. Yoriichi and Inosuke are the only ones who created their own breathing styles without prior knowledge. This is correct. They are the only two characters in the show that's presented in a way where they didn't have like previous knowledge. There are plenty of characters in the show that do create their own breathing styles, but they already were learning other breathing styles. Like they knew about it, they were being trained for like a certain breathing style, and then they created their own. Yoriichi and Inosuke both, like Yoriichi is the, of course, progenitor of all breathing styles. Inosuke was just living in the mountains and just created his own breathing style. So based off of my knowledge off the top of my head, this is correct. Gotoge was inspired to create Zenitsu after observing the behavior of cats. Gotoge explains that Zenitsu's nervous anxiety is based on how the cat reacts to a new environment. I mean, his behavior is very cat-like, but Gotoge doesn't do a ton of interviews. So this we're gonna have to try and find where this is coming from. I'm a big believer whenever people post fun facts, they're like, Gotoge said this, Gotoge said that. If you can't find it, it probably didn't happen. That seems to happen quite a lot. Let's see if it's listed, and I am looking at the Core Records book, which is a fan book. That's not to say that it's been written by fans. It was written by Gotoge for the fans. That's why it's called an official fan book. Everything that's in here is canon. It's just called a fan book because it's like extra information for the fans. I saw someone arguing on Twitter when someone was like, it's in the fan book. They were like, the fan book? You mean so it's not canon? And I was like, oh my gosh, we're going the opposite direction. So trying to find anything in here that states that he's modeled after a cat. Not seeing anything listed just on his page. Yeah, this doesn't seem to say anything. Just off the top of what I'm looking at, it does not look like it says anything. This is going to be more about what Gotoge wrote before Demon Slayer, which is actually really helpful because I've seen a lot of fun facts that are like, it has to do with things that are in here. Okay, my last thing I'm going to look at is just use Google. I'm not going to use the AI thing because that's obviously, the AI overview is so bad. So everything that's on here are just TikToks. I don't trust TikToks at all. So everything that I'm finding either just says, Gotoge said it with nothing linked, or calling it a fan theory. So I'm gonna say this one is a fan theory. Again, if you can't find the actual interview anywhere, then it's probably not real. Next. Nezuko's bamboo muzzle design was inspired by a real bamboo tea strainer that the creator Koyoharu Gotoge-san, Japanese restaurant. Here we go again. I swear people are just like, oh yeah, they did all these interviews. I'm like, where are the interviews? It doesn't say it in the core records. All right, we're gonna call this one another fan theory because once again, there's nothing that I can find that has any evidence to argue for this fun fact. Obanai has a small appetite, able to go 3 days while being in peak condition, but with Mitsuri, he eats a little bit more. I think this one is true. He doesn't have to eat much to be okay, and that's because of his upbringing, but where did the 3 days come from? So the best I can find is in the core records book, under Obanai's Taisho Whispers and Rumors. It says, Iguro finds meals to be a nuisance. However, he always enjoys seeing Mitsuri happy chowing down. After he enjoys a meal with her, even though he himself doesn't eat, he finds he has an appetite and then eats more than usual. So can't find really the 3 days thing, but everything else within this fun fact is good. Shinobu was the last Kocho, meaning when she died, her entire bloodline ended. I mean, that's how it works. Kanai and Shinobu never had kids, so yes, that's the end of their bloodline. Tanjiro and Nezuko were originally going to be twins. So this, I would believe, is going to be in this book. No, this is their mangas. This is like the straight up. So that's not in here. Whenever I see this kind of stuff, I'm just very nervous to believe it. I've fallen into a rabbit hole of something else, and I feel like I have to bring this up. I've lost a brain cell reading this. All right, I had to read this, so I'm putting you all through the pain of having to read this. Okay, hear me out. You probs are mad at me for saying that Tanjiro and Nezuko are twins, as Tanjiro clearly states that Nezuko is his younger sister. But think about it. Nezuko was 12 when she turned into a demon, so she is 12 until she turned back into a human. Not true, but whatever. Her and Tanjiro spent 3 years at Urokadaki's place. Not true. It was 2. It's legit, like, spelled out for us in the anime and the manga that it was 2 years that he was at Urokadaki. Oh wait, that's right. He's 15. What's 15 minus 12? So Tanjiro and Nezuko are 12 when making them twins. No. Tanjiro's birthday is July 14th and Nezuko's is December 28th, which is confirmed by UFO table, which means it's canon. So, no. I have nothing to say to that. Okay. This one seems to be a fun fan theory. Next. All right, this one is a real. Oh, here we go. Oh, so we threw in one obvious fact at the end there to make all the others look normal. Again, these are all fun headcanons. Like, have these headcanons, that's fine. If you want to think of some things that aren't within canon that you love about a character, then do it. I understand it. Like I said, I've made videos on it, but call them headcanons, not fun facts, because then when you start doing this, everyone starts just believing it. Every single one of these, except for the last one, is a nice thought. It's a nice headcanon. The first one, Shinobu never visited Kanai's grave because she thought she was a bad sister. Nothing to support this. They both died thinking they saved each other. Sure, I guess. Mizuri was still talking to Obanai, not knowing he died a few minutes prior. There's nothing that states this. Shinobu told everyone about her plan except Gyu because she knew he wouldn't allow it. Okay, this is one of my biggest pain points. So this one is not only clearly a headcanon, but it also just goes directly against canon because it is an actual plot point within the story that the only person that Shinobu told of her plan was Kanao, because that is a part of her and Kanao's story. So essentially what this headcanon does, again, I will say, like, have your headcanons, have your theories, but if they're so incredibly against actual canon, I'm still gonna call that out. And then if you go and you also call it a fun fact, I'm gonna be even more calling it out. Shinobu only tells Kanao about her plan. There's a reason for that. It is because she wants Kanao to be the one to enact revenge should she die. Now, keep in mind, I see a lot of people also say, because I've talked about Shinobu a little bit and how much hate she gets, even though like she went toe-to-toe with Upper 2 and Rengoku went toe-to-toe with Upper 3, both of them died, and Shinobu gets all this hate and gets called a fraud and gets called weak and that sort of thing, while Rengoku is like this big hero, that sort of thing. Anyway, Shinobu did not go into that fight just like, I'm gonna die. She had other plans. Yes, she knew that her plan might not work and that her only option might be to be absorbed by him, and then thus like that allows Kanao and later on Inosuke, which like he was an anomaly. Shinobu couldn't have planned that, and that they would be able to defeat him. Shinobu went into that wanting to survive. That's why she had all these different poisons that she was attacking him with, is that she was trying to see if that would work, right? But she knew it might not. So she had like a backup plan that did involve her giving her life in order for her to take down Doma. She knew that Kanao had the ability to take on Doma, and she didn't know how long it would take, but she did feel like Kanao had an obvious chance against Doma. This was an extreme plot point between the two of them about their sister relationship, about how much Shinobu trusts Kanao, about how much Kanao has grown, because she specifically says before she tells her plan that Kanao has learned how to speak with her heart. She didn't want to tell her this plan until she knew Kanao could voice her feelings on that plan to Shinobu, and Kanao still ended up agreeing to it. Shinobu did not tell anyone else. Shinobu did not tell Gyu, and no, she didn't not tell Gyu because she knew he wouldn't let her. If anything, Gyu would have been the only one who would have been like, if that's what you think you need to do, then you need to do that. Gyu is one of the only people who would be like that. Gyome almost figures it out in one of the light novels. We see, well, he doesn't almost, he does figure it out essentially, but he doesn't know because she hasn't told him. So this just like is so opposite of what the plot is trying to show here, just to support a ship. That's what annoys me about shipping culture and just about like this whole fun fact headcanon culture of Demon Slayer, is that now we're getting into the realm of you're not just making stuff up and labeling it as a fun fact, you are making something up to support a ship that goes directly against canon and completely removes Kanao from the equation and like completely nullifies like her development and her story and that sort of thing to support the ship. So that's my biggest issue with that one. Because this one's kind of hard to follow because it's a video, I'm gonna call this one at that. But let's just say the rest of these are all fun theories and headcanons, except for the last one. The last one is actually canon because that just happens in the manga at the end. Demon Slayer fun facts you probably know, probably don't know, or knew. Okay. All the Hashiras are millionaires. We do know that they make quite a bit of money, but we don't know exactly how much they make. Aoi wanted a sister, so she was fiercely pestering Kanao to choose her last name. Yes, that was actually one of the doodles in one of the mangas. I don't know where it is off the top of my head, and I'm not going to waste the time to go and find it, but that is definitely canon. Aoi burned her open chest uniform using oil to match Shinobu and Kanao. I don't think they were ever given that. I think that was a specific you got that when you were given the role of Hashira, I think. We know that Shinobu burnt hers, but she gave both Kanao and Aoi matches to do it. We don't know if they actually ended up doing it ever. Shinobu cares for Gyu as a friend. Shinobu thinks Gyu is a big doofus? Okay. Susumaru was a volleyball team captain in the Kimitsu Academy. I haven't read enough Kimitsu Academy to see her in it, but I do believe she is the volleyball captain. Goto hit Muzan with a car when the final battle was about to be over. That's true. That was like the most chaotic moment of reading the manga because I didn't know whether to laugh, whether to cry, whether to freak out, whether to hold my breath. Like that was so crazy at the end of that battle. Like Muzan's turning into a baby. Tanjiro is nowhere to be found. Sanemi and Gyu are just trying their best. And then there's Goto in a car. It was so chaotic. Oh my gosh. Kabutomaru pets Obanai's head when Obanai is upset. Fun headcanon. Fun fact, they are in the same final selection together. Okay, so this is in the second fan book. So that is true. Okay. I was like, I think this is true, but I never actually knew where that came from. Tengen likes to ruffle Muichiro's hair, which is super cute. I mean, there's a picture of him kind of doing it. I guess that's like, sure. Yoriichi, Zenitsu, and Muichiro are the only ones who can defeat an upper rank by themselves. I mean, they're the only ones depicted as doing that. That doesn't mean that they're the only ones who can. I have half a mind to think that Gyome would absolutely be able to take down Gyoko by himself too. Not can, but they are the only ones who do in the story. Big difference, by the way. All right, next one. All right, here we go. Mitsuri couldn't hug Obanai one last time because she lost both her arms while fighting Muzan. I mean, I don't think that's like a confirm. I think that's just an observation. Both Muichiro and Genya died thinking that the other one had survived. Again, an observation they very possibly might have. Genya probably died thinking Sanemi hated him because he died before his brother could tell him he always loved him. So the theory is, and this is again a theory, that Genya couldn't hear Sanemi as he was fading away because his ears had already disintegrated. But I don't know if I necessarily agree quite with this idea because demons are able to talk until the very end, even when they don't have anything to lend to their voice other than their mouth. I don't know. It's an interesting theory that he couldn't be able to hear him, but it's never like a fact. It's never stated. It's like, okay, like maybe he didn't know, but he also was like talking back to him. So I think he knew. I think it's pretty obvious that he could hear him and he knew that Sanemi was very distraught and saying, like, please don't take him away. I think he was able to pick up on the fact that Sanemi did love him. Not to mention, too, is that Tanjiro told Genya that Sanemi's smell was that he loved him. Like, he told him, like, hey, your brother loves you. There's no hatred. There's no ill intent. I don't know why he's acting the way that he is, but he's not deceiving me, is essentially what Tanjiro said to Genya. Even though all the Hashira and Demon Slayers went to heaven, Lady Tamayo went to hell. This is another fun theory. Not fun. I keep saying the word fun. These are not fun. This is a theory because in like the final book, there's a drawing of all of the characters who died facing one way and Tamayo's facing the other. I think it's on the manga box. I don't know where that is though. And the theory is that they're all heading towards heaven while Tamayo's headed towards hell. I don't think that's what they meant. It could have been. It's a theory. It's never been confirmed. So not a fun fact, a fun fan theory. We gotta really be able to discern what the difference between a fact, a theory, a headcanon is. Alright, I think with that we're gonna end the video. I think the point of this video is really to just tell y'all, like, use discretion when you read fun facts and when you use them as arguments against other people, especially when it comes to ships. I know that video also had, like, Sanemi was going to confess the day that Kanai died, and that's just not true either. There's no canon material that leads us to believe that he was going to do that, and there's barely any canon material that leads us to believe that he even actually liked her. That all comes from this, let's see here, was it Sanemi? Okay, so in the fanbook there's all of these, like, what each Hashira thinks of all the other Hashiras. So From the stone Hashira's point of view, so Gyome, when he says something about Sanemi, he says, has a strong spirit, he's sensitive on the inside, so he easily gets embarrassed. Apparently he likes Kanai. I have a couple of things about this statement. Number one is this is an English translation, and I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the video. The translation in this is not very good. There's literal typos in places. So I have half a mind to think that take everything that you read, take everything that you read in general with a grain of salt, because we're consuming this through a translation. So everything is originally written in Japanese, obviously. And a lot of things are not one-to-one translation because the languages are built very differently. So when I read this, my first thought is, well, what do they say in Japanese? I actually ordered the book in Japanese. Let's see if I can read it. Okay, hang on. Okay, so here it is in Japanese. This, of course, is the English print because it says Demon Slayer on it. So what page is this on? 115. Okay, it's gonna take me a moment to read this. So it says Kanai ga suki rashi, which means seems to like Kanai. It does use ga suki, which definitely can be used for love confessions. It's like, I don't know if you ever hear an anime, they'll be like suki, and then it'll get translated to I love you. You can also use suki when just referring to really anything you like. Watashi wa Kimetsu no Yaiba ga suki desu. Like, I like Kimetsu no Yaiba. I'm not confessing my love, but I like it. So, like, there's an argument to be had that, yeah, that's the nuance, seems to like Kanai. Something of note is that Sanemi also says about Rengoku, suki. Like, so I'm talking about what? So this is what Gyome thinks of the other Hashira, and I'm reading the one about Sanemi right here. So Kanai ga suki rashi, but then for Sanemi's, when talking about Rengoku, he says suki. So you can argue the same thing about Rengoku. It's like there's a lot of different nuances within the word suki. Obviously, if it was like aishiteru, it would be like, okay, he loves Kanai, like full romantic love, crazy. But he says suki. And also, like, of note, is pretty much Sanemi about every character. He says, suki about Mitsuri. He says, anmari suki janai, which means I don't like her that much. So, like, so it's not really much to go off of, because Sanemi uses the word pretty openly. Kanai no imoto nanode. So, okay, about Shinobu, choi koe o kakeru kanai no imoto nanode. I'm saying this because I would not say that this just flat out says that Sanemi likes Kanai in a romantic way. Maybe he did. Gyome saying that he seems to like Kanai can mean so many different things. I have in the past been like, oh, I think my friend likes my other friend, and I was totally wrong. Like, romantically. I thought, like, two friends liked each other romantically, and I was wrong. So, like, it can happen. He does mention, when it comes to talking to Shinobu, that he talks to her a lot because she's Kanai's sister, which could also mean because he knows that Kanai is dead, so he enjoys talking to her because he knows that she lost her sister, and he understands that because he's lost siblings too. Like, there's a whole lot of other nuance. I think reducing this just to romance, oh, this means it's canon that they liked each other, and then adding on to it that Sanemi was going to confess his feelings the day she died, that's just straight up made up. That's definitely not anywhere. And it also is very like, let's just force something into a box, and it's used oftentimes as fuel against people who like Sanagyo. And here's the thing, and I've seen this argument come up a lot, and this is turning into such a tangent. I hope y'all like this type of video, but I've been seeing a lot of discourse on Twitter recently about people saying that, like, Sanagyo shippers are just so mean and disgusting, and I have 100% belief that there are people out there like that. I see way more really weird Sanemi and Kanai shippers and Shinobu and Giyu shippers than I have seen Sanemi and Giyu shippers. most of the Sonic shippers I come across, we're minding our business, and all of us are aware that it's not canon. Yeah, we'll argue when people are like, they hate each other, because, well, there's a lot of canon evidence that states that they don't actually hate each other. First of all, Giyu never hates Sanemi. In fact, in the anime, he says that he wants to be friends with him. Sanemi right now does kind of hate Giyu, but like that changes over time and that sort of thing. But most of the Sonic Giyu shippers that I know, they're super cool about it. Like they have their headcanons, but they just chill out. They're never trying to be like, it's canon. Because it's not, and we know that. Every time I say something about liking Sonic Giyu, in any video on any platform, I have people that are like really weird in the comments. But Shino Giyu. But Giyu loves Shinobu. But Sanemi loves Kanai. Well, first of all, Kanai died 4 years ago. So you mean to tell me that if someone loves someone and that person dies, they're never allowed to love someone ever again? And the same could be said about Giyu and Shinobu. You could argue like there's some argument for like maybe there's a little bit of chemistry there, but Giyu lives, Shinobu does not. Anyway, turning into a bit of a tangent about shipping culture. Shipping culture is just so weirdly toxic, and it has been for a very long time. And it's one of those things that I've never been able to understand, because what do you mean? Like, you're so opinionated over which character kisses which character that you'll like be weird and make stuff up and argue with people endlessly about it. And I guess you could argue that that's what I'm doing right now. I am arguing with people about ships. I just think it's weird because I don't care. Again, I don't care if you ship Shino Giyu. I don't care if you ship Sonic Hana. I think we all need to be real with ourselves and just live in the world of uncanon. It is okay to live in the world of uncanon. There are very few canon ships in Demon Slayer. Those canon ships are Openeye and Mitsuru, yes, but people still have to force that into like a Openeye was gonna propose to her the day that they died, which is also really dumb because that's like a Western religion type thing. And proposing with a ring was not necessarily never done in Taisho era Japan, but not super common. That's a very Western style of proposing marriage that has since like become very normal in Japan. But Taisho era was like right when Western culture was starting to become a thing. Not to mention, again, that's just like against his character. As we see during that final battle is that he wanted to die to atone and marry Mitsuri in his next life. Like he explicitly says that he doesn't deserve that. So he would not have a ring in his pocket because he was never planning to marry Mitsuri. And like, yeah, that's sad, but that's a part of his story. That's a part of who he is as a character. And so why do we just take our love for like this romance between these characters and invalidate canon to make it fit into a new box? Just enjoy the ship for what it is. The other canon ships are, of course, like Tanjiro and Kanao, Zenitsu and Nezuko, Inosuke and Aoi, and then, of course, there's like the flashback characters like Hakuji and Koyuki, Yoriichi and Uta. Like, all of those are canon ships because it's like, actually, they were together. Tanjiro and Kanao, there was, in the final chapter, like, their descendant was like, I wonder what my great-great-grandparents were like while it showed Tanjiro and Kanao. Okay, they got married and had kids. Zenitsu and Nezuko, like, all of those characters had obvious descendants, which means that they ended up together. Everything else is just, like, see it how you see fit. Just don't invalidate the story to validate your ship. Like, I don't know, that's where I'm like, it's weird. I did not plan on this video going this route, but what a fun April Fool's Day. If you made it this far, leave a blue heart emoji in your comment. We're gonna end the video there. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment on your thoughts. And I will see you all. I'm wearing my Tanjiro shirt, by the way, from Steady Hands. Tanjiro's on the back, you just can't see it. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.